everybody. I just wanted to talk about the resolution that was emailed to everybody on Thursday. It's a 3-page document. If you don't have the handout in front of you, there's a copy at the table. According to the Academic Senate bylaws, I just wanted to remind everybody that the purpose of this body is to, 1, represent the district's faculty as required by state regulations in negotiations with the Board of Trustees or its designee in order to reach mutual agreement on all policies and procedures involving academic and professional matters as outlined in Title V. And another one of the bylaws is strengthen the role that faculty plays in the district's governance processes. For these reasons, this resolution has been brought to you today to be a draft of the Senate's own statement on this matter, and so that President Hamby or a delegation from the Senate may take it to the Board of Trustees either on Wednesday coming up or a subsequent Board of Trustees meeting. The Board, even after both the students and faculty's vote of no confidence, continues to stand by and still fully support President Rocha. Even more troubling are the administration's claims in the press that the vote of no confidence is related to union contract and salary issues. None of the points on this resolution deal with our labor contract or salary. They all fall under the Senate's purview, and linking the vote of no confidence to the contract issues diminishes or dismisses what the vote of no confidence was really about and violations of shared governance. Can we as senators legitimately not let the Board of Trustees know where we stand as a faculty body that speaks for shared governance and ignore what the PCC faculty members have already affirmed? Given what is happening to shared governance at PCC and that summer break is right around the corner, time is of essence. Can we legitimately not take a stand on these obstructions to shared governance and pedagogy, which the Academic Senate is supposed to stand for? The absence of our vote on this campus-wide issue can be construed as our acquiescence to, disinterest in, or even approval of what is happening to shared governance. So what you have before you is a draft taken from the vote of no confidence ballot, but includes only pedagogical and governance issues on this campus. I won't read the main bullets, but they relate to violating regulations in the spirit of shared governance, disrupting the efficiency and collegiality on campus, perpetuating distrust and intimidation through ethically questionable practices. We have had 2 polls, 1 faculty ballot initiative to inform us today. And the PCC Board of Trustees, in keeping with accreditation standards, holds President Rocha accountable for the operations of the district. Finally, President Rocha is accountable for the chaotic operations and hostile climate within the district. So therefore, be it resolved that the Senate has no confidence in the administration to carry out its basic duties, maintain a healthy shared governance system, orchestrate major changes responsibly, realize the goals and mission of the PCC district, and avoid unnecessary litigation from disgruntled constituent groups and employees, and provide leadership to the campus community. It's pretty full. We're not fulfilling our duties as outlined in our bylaws if we don't take a clear stand, and now is the time. The students are looking to us, the community is looking to us, the board is waiting to hear from us. The Academic Senate is precisely where votes of no confidence should originate. So that's what I had to say on this topic, and I don't know if I have to make a motion to approve this, or...
No, we have a discussion.
Discuss.
So, I have a moment of clarity, usually around things like this. This often, when we do things like this, as you've seen, it comes from committee first, right? And we would have a committee check on it, right?
I have a quick question about that, because I just noticed there's a resolution here, a 1-page resolution on learning,
professional learning, right?
Professional learning.
That's not my question, so before you answer it, Melissa, can I finish my point? Which is that moment of because this isn't coming from a committee, then what we would need to do is, this would be where you would probably hear amendments to this out loud, which means we're now going to go through a group editing session around this document. Now that being said, it's also 6 o'clock, and we've been here for 3 hours. And I know that there are other information items that also are timely and need to go through this process.
Now this has been emailed to everybody on Thursday. I know it was Easter weekend, Passover and whatnot. We could this could be a first read. I mean, I don't know, whatever the Senate wants to do today, it's up to you.
Matt, please.
Well, the first bullet point, the wording is actually incorrect. The district's governing board must consult collegially by relying primarily on advice judgment. There's an or there. And it's on the Academic Senate's webpage. And so I would say that even the word bullet needs to be cleaned up. But given time, I just move the table.
Right. For a second? Second. Okay, move the table. That's a non-debatable. All in favor of tabling this?
Put it off to for 2 weeks.
So that we would bring
Discuss
it
it at
in
the next meeting.
What would we do in 2 weeks?
What would we do in 2 weeks?
Just for clarification, what is?
We could go through
Open
the
this up
point by
again.
point editing process that I've seen this body give every document that's been put before it, rather than rubber stamping what's been put before it.
Might I make can I make a friendly amendment to your motion? No?
Let me hear it.
Totally, right. So might I say, let's move to table this, while in the meantime, sending any edits to Melissa to add in with a new clean copy.
I would love to get all edits and put them in a document. Will that be considered the second read then?
My only moment there is Eduardo has made it very clear, he will not vote on any resolution that is not a clean final copy. So I'm saying this because I know that we'll already have a couple of people who've also stood by Eduardo in this moment saying they refuse to vote on anything that is a sloppy
But we went ahead and did it anyway, though.
Right.
But we went ahead this year and did it anyway,
and as did he, so I'm merely pointing out, like,
Within my statement, what I also said is that if you were to, we have 2 weeks. If we can make these corrections and give it to you within a week, that would give us a whole week to look at a cleaned up version.
We only have one more meeting, right?
There's only one meeting.
I think it's important, given the state of the campus, this is the reason that we put this on the ballot, was that it does seem an emergency, right? That was the whole reason that we voted to actually put it as an agenda item, that we really have the opportunity to have it as an action item before we have some break, or extend spring break.
Okay, Kathleen?
I would like the clean copy to be available, like, within a week, because I want to ask my division how they want to vote for it, because it's not an overwhelmingly, I've already done kind of a straw poll, and it's not overwhelming, so I would want them to see what they're voting on. So.
But this is not your.
This is not policy. We're not voting on it.
I think Katie, did you have a comment? I thought you were going to.
I say Kathleen, Pat, and Melissa.
Okay, Pat?
I have a big question that I've been wrestling with, frankly, for days. One is, if I was expected to come here and vote representing my division, I think that's a major issue for me, because every single faculty member, all full-time faculty members, have already had a right to express their own individual response to this, and that's all been recorded, and so forth. So the only way that I want to vote on anything is if it's just this group, as a group, without feeling like we have to go back and get our divisions.
This is a resolution from this body.
I am not totally clear that all of us have an agreement, or even know when we vote, am I just voting myself as a person who sits around this table and this group who's trying to make a statement, or am I supposed to be getting data from my division? I think this is an important issue.
Yes, this is not meant, that's why this is separate from Yolanda's informational item. It's not having to do with our department. Unfortunately, we have to divide. We are senators. We're taking a stand like the Associated Students have done. So they did not poll their students. They took a stand as a body.
But that's different, Melissa. It's very different between what happened with the students and what's happening with us as faculty. The students were not polled ahead of time. Their representative group got together and made the decision and issued their statement in the name of themselves as officers and representatives of the Associated Students. We're the reverse. The faculty has already been polled. Everybody who wanted to participate.
Sorry, before you guys get started,
So it's the flip for us. That's all.
Since I was brought up, well, since AS was brought up. So the AS is a representative democracy, kind of like the academic senate. So when we took the vote of no confidence, it was on behalf of the Associated Students of Pasadena City College. And the Associated Students of Pasadena City College are all credit and non-credit students enrolled at PCC. We weren't able to poll all of them because there are 26,000 of them, and I don't get paid full time to do this, and neither does anyone. In fact, I actually have to take more classes to be able to have the privilege of representing. So as a representative democracy, we don't represent divisions in the way that senators do. And there are student senates that do that. The AS doesn't. We simply have officer positions that run an executive board that is charged with representing all of the students. So we tried to open our process as much as possible. We took 3 to 4 weeks on it. We had it very publicized. Any student that was able, and we did have a lot, would come in and offer their opinions. And then we had to move forward knowing 2 things. That one, yes, we were a group of 12 students who have been elected, but we've also been elected by the student body to make these decisions on behalf of our group. What the academic senate, I think, needs to decide is whether it feels in the same way that its representation of its divisions is enough that they can simply vote the way in a representative democracy that you would as a representative, or if you do want to make that distinction. I think for AS, it was more representative than the executive board alone, but that's because of the way that the executive board is charged with functioning, and the academic senate has a little bit of a different way of functioning, I believe.
I just want to clarify, because now everything is foggy in my head. We want this resolution, what we're saying is the 17, 18 people sitting here, we're going to make a decision, we're going to say that represents the Senate, not the faculty. We're saying that the Senate needs to take a stand. And we as senators say we're going to vote on this is a stand that the Senate wants to take. And if we do that, because the faculty, like you're saying, they already have made a decision, so I'm not sure that we need to take it back to them and say, is this okay? Because they've already done, because this is almost like a separate kind of thing. You had your vote, and then as a Senate, we want to have something where we're taking a stand also. So it would make sense that we could, because we all see this and we're going to send the edits, and if we get it in a week, that we can look it over and we can vote on it the next time, because we don't have to consult.
It's about the strength of our group.
Paul,
Right.
So it's me, and then Yolanda, and then you.
Yeah,
Mike.
that's how I'm understanding what.
Well, I think that actually, Marjorie, what I'm hearing, trying to be like from this side, is that I'm actually hearing a debate around whether this resolution should be representative of the divisions that we represent, or should we just have it be representative of the room. What I'm hearing is that there are some senators, just from what I've heard based on this critique, is some senators don't necessarily feel comfortable because they feel as though they are representing, they're merely a vessel for what their division wants. Whereas what I'm hearing you guys say is, we are supposed to kind of work backwards. We are taking the lead for our division. And I think that right now what I'm hearing is that people are taking
the lead.
No, I'm just telling you that what voices I'm hearing in the room is trying to, I think what I'm hearing is we're trying to decide whether or not we believe the Senate should take the lead and pull our divisions along. Or do we feel like our divisions have elected us to move forward?
No,
and I think that that's...
I don't think that's what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing.
We're discussing this.
Right.
The motion was to table this.
Right.
We're discussing it.
Technically, that's supposed to be non, I've been letting it happen, but technically, a motion to table is supposed to be.
Anyone second?
Anyone
We'll
second?
follow that.
Okay, the motion was to table it, and give edits, I think was the friendly amendment.
Within a week.
Within a week. Accept the amendment, okay? Let's just vote on that. Okay, all in favor, we're voting to table it and send edits to Melissa.
Wait, what would happen after that? That's what I don't understand.
We went off topic and we were out of order.
I guess means the discussion can continue, and no means that we move on to the next stuff on the agenda.
No, I think she's saying that, can we vote on it? What you want to know is then, can we vote on it the
That's
next
my
time?
decision.
Will it be your decision?
I'm gonna hang myself.
I think that's fair.
Again, as with all editing process, it can be brought forward and it can be tabled again, right? If you know what I mean. Luckily for us, the next agenda should be fairly light, but I think that what I've heard to reinforce the motion is we're moving to table it for a week. We will send edits to Melissa specifically. whether it's on behalf of your division or individual, you'll send them to Melissa, right, by next,
By Friday.
by Friday.
And I will get them out to whom?
Give it to Judy and then she will disseminate it.
You're assuming that we're going to do things when we
So
take.
maybe we should take this vote here.
Let's take this vote.
Well, no, because I was clarifying the amendment. Does that make sense? So clarifying within the next week so that it can be sent out. With that, let's call the question.
But the problem is that if you table it for our next meeting, there's no guarantee that's going to be put on the agenda. Am I correct?
That's my call,
Yeah.
It's a shame you spend more time talking about 2 days at the end of the semester.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Well, the motion's on the floor. All those in favor of tabling, signify.
Just say no. If you don't want to
Just
say
say
no, just
no.
walk out.
If you want to continue, maybe decide you vote against the table. It's not debatable, we need to take that vote.
I didn't get one suggestion from any of you, Matt included. He had it this Thursday, he said bullet number 1 is no good. That's all I got. So had I
Doesn't
not.
matter, there's a motion on the table.
There's a motion.
I'd love to have brought something cleaner already, but.
So, we're calling the question to table or not, if you're voting
Table or
yes,
not to table,
means
that's
we're
the
tabling for 2 weeks. No means the discussion moves.
Okay, all in favor of tabling, signify by saying, or raise your hand. You're thinking of table? Okay, I don't need to go back. And all opposed? I got that. Okay, I think it's like we're going to continue debating. Okay. Okay.
What would you like to change?
So, so now the discussion is forward. So now we start the discussion process.
Yes.
There's also an issue here in that there is inherent ambiguity about this vote. And I think unless a vote actually originated directly through a Senate process, then it will only perpetuate that ambiguity. I also, and I'm not sure about procedure here, but I'm very, very concerned that a vote that takes place outside of the Senate, which is ostensibly independent, is then given the appearance of being ratified by a Senate group. And I wonder if that, my concern is that that could set a precedent. That not this year, not next year, but 5 years from now, some other person who may be one of us is at the other end of that vote of no confidence, and then we have set a precedent in this body whereby you are not only held in no confidence by a public vote, but that becomes, how should I say, drawn into what is perceived as censure by the Senate. And so I would just say with any of these procedures, I know that everyone has very strong opinions, but I would be very, very careful about what we're doing now in terms of how it sets a precedent for how we will conduct ourselves and how we will be perceived later. That's my caution, that's my only caution. And I think that the situation is sufficiently ambiguous and confusing that misperceptions are inherent in this process.
So, oh, I'm sorry, it's actually Paul.
Oh, Paul, I'm sorry.
I feel like we are not voting on, if we were to vote on this resolution, we're not voting on a policy. We are not voting on something that directly affects the people that we represent. It does not directly affect the faculty. It does, however, affect our ability to conduct business. If we have an administration that, regardless of what our committees recommend, will impose and do whatever they want, our only obligation is to fight for our body, our group. We have a right to be able to make recommendations and have those recommendations heard and not ignored. And everything that this president has done has ignored the recommendations that some aspect of this body has recommended.
So the order that I have next is Dan, Yolanda, Melissa, Eduardo, Rod, and Simon, and Francis. So, Danny?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Yolanda?
Well, I guess I don't really see much ambiguity in it because a vote of no confidence is a vote of no confidence. And the way I see it is that the faculty voted through an ad hoc committee because we failed to initiate that vote. And that vote was taken on by an ad hoc committee, and that's why I was trying to get it to come to faculty senate, because faculty senate does have more weight with the board than an ad hoc committee. We are the official body for faculty, as Melissa pointed out in her very, involved statement, that pointed out that fact. So I think that this is based, we're not re-endorsing anything, or we are looking at what is put before us and we're voting yes or no. Do you feel that you have confidence in this administration to work with us and for us to do what we need to do, or do you feel that we have no confidence? So for me, it's not ambiguous,
Now, can I ask Melissa a question? I mean, are you okay with the idea of basically people being able to send some edits to you over the next 4 days? You're okay with that idea?
Yes, I was going to suggest, we can change the language. It has to be something that we're all comfortable with because it is coming from us, our body. As for setting a precedent, I should hope we set the precedent that we do take a stand on shared governance at this school. If you don't want to vote for the document that comes out of this, then you would just vote no or abstain. And again, change the language to send me a draft. So I would just recommend to send me the edits that you might have within a certain deadline and bring it next time.
What's a reasonable deadline? Can I ask you what a reasonable deadline would be?
I could get it. Whatever's reasonable for all of you.
What reasonable deadline would people want for people to get edits to Melissa?
Monday.
By next Monday?
Next Monday.
But
I'd like to have it.
That gives us a full week.
Friday.
So it's a full week.
Friday.
Gives you the week.
2 days.
Okay.
So we give it to her give our recommendations to Melissa by Friday, and by Monday, she can
Get the document to you.
So Melissa, this is what I had you next on the order, and
Yeah,
is this
that's
what you
what I was
wanted to
gonna
say? I
say.
want to make sure that I'm clarifying it, because I
Yeah.
know other people had questions.
yeah, that's fine.
And so after Melissa, Eduardo, you were gonna go next, then I have Rod, Simon, Francis, me, Dan, and Pat.
I was going to say that this vote here, we're reaffirming what the faculty have already voted. Last time we were discussing this, Deborah had mentioned the issue of, well, only 52% of the people voted. And so I was looking at that, and so I looked at some statistics. Right now, recently, there was elections here in LA primaries. 22% of the registered voters voted. So does that mean that it should not move forward? Then we got presidential elections, 2002, 36%. Excuse me, this is for California. There were elections in 2002, 36%, 43% the following year, 57, 35, 39. So the mere fact that 51% of the people voted, what that tells you also that is there a certain amount of fear that exists on the channel. Going back to the issue of fear, I don't know who you guys are who are putting this, so I'd rather not vote. So that could possibly explain why there weren't more. But nevertheless, 52% or 51 point, whatever it was, that is a tremendous number of people to vote. One final point that I'd like to say is the reason why with all due respect to you, Dustin, I don't believe if we were to table it, that you would put it on the agenda. So for that reason, I do believe that we should take a vote today and not table it.
We already moved to not.
I understand, but I had to say that.
It's still just the first reading. So Rod, well, Rod, you're next too.
Thank you. The Senate's silence on this issue has allowed Dr. Rocha to go out in public, very, very publicly, and to spin the vote of no confidence as a union issue and basically forget everything that he's ever done to disrupt, block, stop shared governance on this campus. And this is, the union is a very small piece of this. What this is about is a campus where faculty get removed by force from their posts. I've been here for 28 years. I've never seen that before until this year. And another thing is that we can speak to this issue and protect our faculty by speaking to this issue and make this real. And I just ask the people in this body to go back and review the video of Dr. Rocha and Gail Cooper hijacking the Senate meeting last year and basically declaring the Senate their vassal. And if you think that you want to stand by and trust that man to do the right thing, then I think you're letting your other faculty members down.
So we have Simon and then Francis.
Simon? Sure. I do think it's wise not to take a full vote on the resolution today by the Senate, and I say that having come from some experience with this now. When we took our vote, we had a packet full of academic information on what a no conference actually meant at higher institutions, which I'm happy to provide. And we looked at it and we examined the studies that were done on it very closely, and we decided we wanted to go forward on it. I think when you take these votes, they are very important. And so I want everyone to be on the same page, or at least ready to agree to disagree when it comes down to the votes when it happens. I would hope to see that this come back, obviously, in 2 weeks, since that seems to be what you guys want to do, but I would say consider it carefully. It's a very big decision. And obviously, I'm biased, I would love the support, clearly. But I also want the academic senate, and I want any group that takes this step to do so fully understanding what its consequences are. We did that. We're facing them now. I mean, our own vote of no confidence has been characterized as union porn issues, and I vehemently go against that. But you know, I caution and consideration carefully. And I think that if you were to take the 2 weeks, get edits back, and then next week or 2 weeks from now, you guys are prepared to really get into the meat of what it means, then I think you've done your faculty, whether you decide to vote as a Senate-only body, as representatives of your division, or if you decide individually on that, then you will have done the faculty you serve a better service. Would be my only suggestion.
Francis.
My confusion is, when could this body act as a unit independent of the faculty it represents? That's a big question. Because my understanding or my confusion arises from the fact that we seem to be talking about this institution, this academic institution, being independent and acting independently of the faculty we represent. I don't know whether the mouthpiece of the faculty, I don't know whether representing the faculty, whenever we speak here, is there any time we would say, and we are speaking as people or members, independent of the faculty?
Well, are you looking for a succinct
I
answer, or was that a theoretical question?
I'm looking for a yes. Because I'm sorry now, Dustin, it might be a wrong impression. Sometimes you seem to act independently of this body without due consideration. I think this body elected you, or the faculty elected you to represent them. And then you don't seem to give that opportunity for full consideration of their views before you take any decision to do anything.
So I'm next.
The question has not been addressed. I posed the question.
If I have an answer.
That's a question I've been wrestling with for the 4 years that I've been doing this. I spoke to Edward about this when I was representing the English division, and it's a thorny question about representation. And according to my discussions at the statewide level, they, as a statewide body, do not take a position that does not represent the will of their board. So every vote they take, for example, if they really want to take a position, and their body as a whole says no, they cannot take that position. So the implication is that the Senate Executive Committee at the statewide level represents 111 colleges as a whole. They do advocate, and they often strongly advocate for a position one way or another, and my experience has been they usually win. When they stand up, when Michelle Plotty stands up, or when Beth Smith stands up, or especially when New York stands up. But if the Senate goes against them, they go with that. And so as far as this body goes, my sense, I have to sort of agree with Deborah. I really believe that we have processes that exist for a reason. I like to sort of second what Simon says. I mean, these are really serious votes that we'd be taking here. And sort of just reiterate what I said earlier. I'll put my own personal opinions about this aside because they're irrelevant, because I don't get a vote here. But what really matters is that we go through the right process. The reason why, this is what I said to Yolanda earlier last Thursday. If we don't do it that way, if we do it differently, I will have Gail Cooper at the Senate meeting, at the board meeting, striking down and not letting me finish my speech. Now, and because basically, so let me finish. Okay. The things that have always been done in this Senate, what she's going to say is this. The Senate took a vote based on an ad hoc committee that is not a designated body of this body. We're basing it on that. And we're taking a vote based on that. And therefore,
again, he's giving his interpretation, friends, and he's really good about letting you go.
So basically, that if we want this to have meaning, over the last year, let me just sort of say it straight. My term is almost done, okay? If I survive another couple weeks. If my kids can actually have a happy dad. I have worked hard the last year, repeatedly, to try to build bridges with this administration since day one. And I believe very strongly, if I were elected today, that we would be having winter session, okay? But I was brand new, okay? I was figuring things out. I said at the board meeting on the 29th, we needed more time. 3 board members agreed. Okay. Since that time, I have been working hard to talk to every single administrative official, from Gail Cooper to Bob Miller to Dr. Bell to the president to several members of the board of trustees on a personal level. Do I agree with all their decisions? No. Do I think we should have had winter delayed for a year so we could discuss it? Yes. Okay. They know I feel that way. Dr. Rocha knows I feel that way. He's been talking to me about NCN since day one, and we have said no consistently since day one, okay, as a body. But I also want to say that from my personal opinion, they have been willing over the last 9 months to listen to us. Okay, let me just give you 2 instances. Number 1, okay, they were ready to go ahead on Carnegie. Okay, they were ready to just implement Carnegie. We had town halls. We had discussions with them in Kaplan. We had private discussions with them. I had private discussions with them myself. After the town hall meetings happened, you notice they backed off. Number 2, I was told way back in December, I can't remember, December, November, that if we want hires, we're going to get none. Because that was actually, it must have been before Prop 30 passed, so it must have been October. Then Prop 30 passed. And so we consistently said we need to get some hires. We need to get some hires. It was still 0. Then January, we got the idea that we're going to get 7. Then we brought 3 more individuals into that room, and we got 10. Okay, and the reason I believe fervently that that happened is because I personally and the executive committee built up goodwill with the administration. So if we vote this now, okay, first of all, I urge you not to. But if you do, I will respect the will of the majority. Okay, if I'm in the minority, that's fine. But if you do, you're going to be basically undermining all of those efforts. You're going to be basically saying, the methods that Dustin took just don't work. Okay, and I can promise you, as far as I understand it, Dr. Rocha will still be here in September, and all we will have is just basically a lot of ill will toward this body. So, if we really do have no confidence in the administration, if the majority really believes that, I believe very strongly that, this is what I told Yolanda, it should go through the proper procedure. We create a Senate committee, an actual designated Senate committee. They do all the research. They get all the information together. They make a case. They bring it to the academic senate. It goes through the 3 reads that we've always done. And if I'll be out of this body, so I will be just an ordinary grunt out there doing my job, okay, gladly. but I will respect the will of that majority. And I will be up at the Board of Trustees saying, okay, I was wrong to have faith in this administration. I did not think that this was as widespread, but it is. So again, that is my opinion, but I will respect the will of the majority. Okay, I've tried my best to respect the will of the majority, but I still believe, number one, that this is a mistake for the Senate to do it this way, and second, that it's a mistake for the Senate to do it altogether.
So it's me next.
Since I posed the question, no,
I got
want
you.
to have the understanding of the answer and you give it. Excuse me. You talked about building bridges for goodwill. All right. Was it the Senate that started when Rocha first arrived, insulting Rocha, not taking Rocha, not admitting Rocha, not acknowledging Rocha as president? Or was it the other way around? In order to start building bridges?
I'll have to let Edwin answer that question, so I can't answer that question.
You have no sense when you took over of what the origin, or what the history was.
Sorry?
Huh?
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter to have the
No, the sidebar.
Okay. Again, from your own, I understand what you're talking about as somebody on the other side. Are you talking about that you were building bridges for this body?
Right.
And you were designated by this body to build bridges, and you're doing that privately on your own?
Well,
Or
that's part of
was
my
it
job.
something, a part of your job as elected, and you're doing it on behalf of, and reporting it to the body? That's good. That's nice. But the idea is, when it first started, was it this body, or you representing this body, who created the situation where there was no communication, no goodwill, then you had to reestablish goodwill?
I understand.
You see my question?
I can understand.
Okay, what was the beginning, the original, when Rocha first introduced himself, showed up?
I understand the question.
Yes.
I understand it.
So I'm up next.
Or no answer?
This has nothing to do with Dustin.
Really,
I mean, come on.
yeah, and it's kind of mean.
Just continue on
Would
this.
you understand?
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes to what my point is, which is this: I really believe in the democratic process, and I clearly really believe in free speech. You can't be a speech teacher and not do that. But I also want to say, but the reason that I'm also saying this is because I've had a very bizarre experience on this campus regarding issues around this. And what I mean is, doing a public vote like this is a big deal. And it's not a big deal because I think the administration really cares, the board really cares, because I don't think they care. What I think is problematic, what I think is problematic is that when we engage in this talk, other faculty talk to other faculty in a way that is demeaning. It is rude. It is mean. I have had people make homophobic remarks around me, about me. I've had people lie about my position, some people in this very room. I have had people tell students untruths because of these issues. And some of you are thinking, no, that couldn't happen, except that I have had these conversations over the last year. And when we take a document like this, right, that is really important, and I agree, it's really important. I don't think it's the talk about this document that matters. It's how we talk to each other about this document that matters. And my concern is, and I think Francis has led into that, is that we sometimes, and I can count today, 4 people in this room who had actions, comments that were biting, mean, not necessarily the most collegial processes, not because they were trying to attack another faculty member, but because they're trying to attack the administration and they're willing to cut down another faculty member to get to the administration.
That is the reason why I was asking.
Right,
But because the
no, this is my turn,
the
Francis.
person who started it wanted it to happen that way.
No, what I'm saying is, and this is my moment.
And there's opportunity.
And this is my moment,
Divide and
Francis,
conquer.
where what I'm saying is, I think it's important for us to have this conversation, but I think it's really, really important for us to think about the fact that many of us in this room hold multiple positions. Some of us are on the union and here. It means you're representing us in 2 ways, and if you're talking in a way that is demeaning, homophobic, transphobic, behind people's back, you're not representing,
That's fair.
right? So you're not representing our body. And my concern is, and that's what I'm looking at this, which is the like, I want to make sure that we're having this conversation, however we get the edits in a way that are meaningful so that we can come back together. If the idea is this is to unify our faculty, right, which is what I think people are trying to do, and I totally support that choice, that we actually have to, one, start talking to each other in positive, meaningful, valuable ways that recognize that we're human beings and that we're capable. And my concern is, and that's my experience is, when we talk about this culture of fear, the culture of fear for many folks is not the president, it is their fellow faculty.
Thank you.
And
What?
and I'm saying it from a very real place, having had really personal experiences with people in this room who have said really damaging things about me that aren't true. So as we move forward, I'm only saying this because I think if we want to unify faculty, then we are exactly the people to unify faculty, but we have to do it around clear language that can be unifying. Right? So that was my 3 minutes. Right, I took it. Next up, we've got Dan.
Dustin, I heard you speak and talk about going through the process, getting off the committee, and getting input. Dustin, this should have been started a long time ago. I mean, the administration is totally ignoring us. Every time we sort of say something, they just ignore it, and they think that if they talk to us at least once, they've done their job, and they don't have to listen to us anymore. If they said something to you, something back, that's all their responsibility is. This resolution should have been on the agenda, and now what we're hearing is you won't even guarantee that it's going to be on the next agenda.
No, that's not what he said. And my...
That's very
I think people would be willing to say, okay, let's re-edit it and get it in, but let's make sure we get it in before, on the last Senate meeting. Will it be on the last Senate meeting for a vote?
I would want to say anything publicly along that until I see what it says. I have to read it.
Well, listen, I think most of the Senate at least want to have a vote on it. And I think most of the faculty want to have a vote on it. If you look at the numbers, yes, not everybody voted, but if everybody else who didn't vote voted to not voted confidence, it would still be a majority of the full-time faculty. People are speaking out very, very strongly. They want to see some leadership. Can we have a vote here?
I can't say one way or the other right now. I really can't until I see what it says. I can't commit to something I haven't seen.
Well, I don't know how to express strongly that if we don't, as a body, vote on this, either tonight or guarantee that we vote on it in 2 weeks, we are losing our opportunity to even define what's going on at PCC. You heard President Rocha on KPCC today, and what did he say? We don't have a problem with shared governance on this campus. We have a problem, it's a labor dispute. Calendar, the academic reasons for canceling the calendar, we all know through IPRO, these are statistics that IPRO gave the calendar committee, all right, that is false, all right? So if we don't stand up and vote either tonight or you guarantee that we vote in 2 weeks, we lose the opportunity to ever stand up for anything. All right, and we are going to allow this administration to continue to define in the press, which it has done, on the airwaves, on TV, allow them to define that the problem